Hey John, we're going to get into it again today. We'll just see where it goes, but I'm sort of hoping we get nice and deeply into the immune system for you today to see what's going on with that gut of yours. Hope it's starting to feel better already. But let's get in there and see what's going on. Oh, Reenee-Jee again as our little surrogate.
Hi.
Okay, so are you warm enough? Do you want the blankie on?
Just whichever. I'm okay for now.
Or the heater?
No, I'm okay for now.
You're good, okay. Okay, so give me a yes, give me a no. We're into John's energy, yes. Okay, we're only after this balance for the highest good for John. Is there any part of the brain and nervous system that is not after a healing? So conscious, subconscious, unconscious, no. Can we connect to the highest source? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, beautiful. Right, so do we need to start with... I went to do it like I do with the etheric, but I can actually use your body parts. Haha. It's much easier. But anyway.
Do many of those etheric ones?
Yeah, a few. Okay, so the first area showing up we need to go into is the immune system. So for today, priority-wise, the adrenal, survival, deep survival, hidden deep survival are all okay. But here we are in the immune system and it's jumping up and saying, yeah, pick me, pick me, pick me. And of course, when you're detoxing, it actually puts extra pressure on your immune system. So while you're doing the detox, it actually does ramp things up within your immune system. It's overworking. I sent you a scan last night. So you'll see once again on the right side, all of the stuff that was showing up previous and then coming back to the current. So it brought lots and lots of stuff back into balance again.
Is it too late where people have to be prepared for the detox?
Yeah. And the detox can be anything. Like one of my guys, he's obviously got a hidden autoimmune disease that he doesn't know about, because he's had this pain condition for well over 20 years. And so when we started him on the redox, he had such a huge pain reaction. He was assuming that it was a side effect, but the side effect is that you're detoxing, and that sometimes anything, like even zeolites, I've seen that before, where because zeolites are attracted to nerves eventually, if the zeolite touches the nerve to try to detox it, it's like putting a knife in a PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're waking up cells and making them detox, and the toxins have been there for a long time, and the body's deliberately hiding toxins deep inside, then then it can feel pretty crappy initially. So I think he's up to 20 mils 3 times a day. He was doing 5 mils twice a day for a while, so slowly. But the fact that he felt anything, because he just hasn't really had any shift in 20 years, so that alone is a good thing. And we've got him on some really good gut herbs. Yeah, John, I'm not sure what you can get in Ireland, but the sort of things like beautiful glutamines and activated turmerics and the arabinogalactans. I'll send you a list of the things in my Australian product that I used for gut healing. I mean, I think it would have been in that list I sent you of things, but I'll send you a copy of that just on Messenger. Okay, do we need to delve more into the immune system stuff? We do. So I just use the immune protocol, or is there something more specific we need to do? The immune protocol, right? So we need to start from the base up and really start waking up your immune system in your gut, because 90% of immunity is in the gut. So when the gut's dysfunctional and we're just feeling a lot of discomfort, then it's, oh, did I not bring my glasses? This will be fun. Okay. I can do it. I know the chart well enough. Okay. Okay, so is there something else I need to do the immune system points in relation to? Do I need to do in relation to self, in relation to getting well, in relation to changing your life, in relation to changing life? Okay. So in relation to making any changes needed. And hold. So I know you've already changed a huge amount of stuff, but for some reason there's an energy mismatch to change. And that's cool. Just balance that out. But I was chatting to a very, very logical guy yesterday, and he was, because he doesn't get kinesiology. He's very left-brained. He loves it, but he doesn't get it. And that's fine. He'll get there. And he was saying that when he heard about the energy mismatch stuff, he's now starting to wonder, because his life has just been from one challenge to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And he's a really good guy, but he's starting to wonder if he needs to do energy mismatch to life, energy mismatch to thriving, energy mismatch to survival, energy mismatch to easy relationships. And I said, yes, we do.
So one of your students.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
And hold. So I thought that's pretty cool. Yes, he'll be my body on the table for the masterclass on the 4th of July.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Is there anything else we need? Do we need to do T-HOP 1, 2, 3? Do we need to do in relation to any other cellular energy stuff? So now we can move through the protocol. Okay. Okay, so we need to connect your thymus gland to your immune system. So they're a little bit disconnected at the moment. The thymus gland is in behind your sternum. And as we get older, we need less and less energy from the thymus gland, but it's still required our entire lives. But basically it's why gorillas bang their chest and are nice and strong. But it definitely can shrink with age, the thymus gland, because obviously we get most infections when we're kids for a variety of reasons. Sorry, I was just thinking with breastfeeding, isn't it funny these days people forget that breastfeeding is how babies get so much innate immunity?
Yeah.
Like they're almost taught that that just isn't good enough these days. And it's generations and generations of memory of how to cope with infections.
Yeah, I know too, because my second born, he was the least breastfed, and he's got
The lung issues?
yeah,
Yeah, right.
and the sensitivities and things.
Oh, interesting. How much redox do you give them? Or are they more gel babies?
Both.
Okay, bacteria and bacterial particles. Because I love that story, you know, with the woman with the kids with the, on the spectrums. You know, she had 5 kids on the spectrum.
Cool to chat to one time.
Yeah, I'd love to chat to her, do a testimonial. Maybe she'll be there Saturday.
Yeah. I'm just thinking. She's in Chinese scheme.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I know that Dr. Judy Mikovits has talked about the spectrum being connected, and so's RFK. They talk about the spectrum being connected to, you know, the brain being inflamed. So anything that can cross that blood-brain barrier and calm down inflammation, and for that to happen so quickly is really interesting. And the speed of it, I think, is connected to the fact that when we take it, it's not just affecting the cells we're taking. It's, you know, especially when we're swishing it around the mouth, we're waking up genes. We're waking up processes that help, you know, that cascading effect in the body. You know, you affect one gene positively, you affect all sorts of things.
think even just for Cassius, maybe just increasing his doses, because he's just having the same as the rest of them.
Yeah, right.
Just increase his doses.
That was bacterium, bacterial particles. Candida. So Candida and Candida spores. Candida and Candida particles. And hold. Hold. Yeah, and obviously when we've got stuff like Candida and fungus and we need to change the whole area of the the whole environment of the gut, because they love a sweet acidic environment, so they just thrive when there's all that damp heat. They love living behind biofilm and mucoid plaque in the gut. Do I need to go into any specific strains? No, not at the moment. We just need to get your body recognising lots of stuff, I think. Okay, so there's CDC showing up, which is the cell danger response. So the body starts like even with bugs don't want to die, so they can ramp up their response if they think they're about to be attacked, killed, whatever. So in relation to the cell danger response, and hold. And this is why we can go backwards, when especially with the gut, because 90% of the immunity is in the gut. Because, we can start killing off, say, parasites or fungus, but we can create up to 30 times the inflammation when we are breaking down these bugs, and we create lots of lipopolysaccharides, and lipopolysaccharides are really inflammatory. So if we're not doing something simultaneously to calm that inflammation, then it just gets worse and worse. So that's where, a really good collagen's really beneficial, bone broth is beneficial, but you get nowhere near the collagen in bone broth as you do from a proper collagen supplement. Yeah, I was actually at that Well Woman seminar. There was a guy there who became an accidental expert on collagen because he did some podcast, which of course was about beauty and wrinkles, so it went through the roof. Every man and his dog wanted the collagen he recommended. But he was sort of funny and quirky and very boring at the same time, but very interesting. All of the above.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was very much a scientist. I can't remember what he was, maybe he was a PhD, anyway, some sort of scientist.
Is it about eugenics, collagen?
He was just talking about collagen in general.
Okay.
And talking about how, they can say they've got things in, but there's a particular ingredient. If we don't have that, it doesn't really do anything. And I think it's the thing we've got in ours that starts with H. But I can't remember what the name of it is.
Okay.
Yes. Circulating immune complexes is showing up. So that's when there are long particles of stuff that the immune system is trying to cope with but isn't. It does show up in the bioresonance regularly, the CIC. So the circulating immune complexes. So it's basically a sign that our white blood cells are struggling. There's something in that blood that is being challenged by the white blood cells. So, the circulating immune complexes. So John, we're really waking up your immune system today. So everything you can do to boost your immune system over the next few days is really important, whether or not it's salt gargling, whether or not you've got any antimicrobial sprays you can do with your sinuses, whether or not you've got the gel and the redox. I'm not sure whether those have arrived or whether you've ordered them, whether you've got some vitamin C or zinc or D or, you know, whatever it is. Let me know what you've got and I'll muscle test up the doses that you need. Okay, so circulating immune complexes. And hold, 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 hold. Now, just so we don't overload the body, I'm just going to go double check the adrenals, survival, deep survival, hidden deep survival. Just make sure all the organs are coping so far. Okay, so stomach energy isn't. Hold up for me. Hold up for me. Teddy's off on his first excursion for school today.
Oh,
They're going.
At school.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, yeah. So he's got 3 days each week in the holidays of, you know.
For the holiday program?
Yeah, the holiday program. So today it's a bus trip to the Mount Cootha, and there's a dinosaur exhibition up there.
I love that.
And tomorrow we're going over to Stratty. Yeah.
You staying?
No. Just doing the car over and back.
Yeah.
Not a cheap way to do it, but it's more convenient with Teddy.
Yeah.
My brother and sister-in-law are over there with their kids, and so I'm taking my brother to it. Oh, okay, this has also messed with something with your reticular activating system. So so getting your immune system to recognizing a few things so far has already got your unconscious brain going, holy moly, what's a crazy woman doing? Good. Yeah, so it's messing with the serotonin in the gut, just messing with these little bugs. And the bugs actually have quite a lot of control over our feel-good hormones like serotonin and dopamine and melatonin in the gut. So it's creating vigilance, and this can be the little bugs too. So far we've sort of activated candida and bacteria, as well as the thymus gland and the circulating immune complexes, which can actually be anything. They can be bits of bacteria, particles, you know, all sorts of viral stuff. They can be anything that the body hasn't fully broken down yet. Okay, is there anything else we need to do before kicking back in? Nope. Okay, so EMFs are showing up, electromagnetic frequencies. So, no, I don't have one. Looking for my, okay, it's not there. I've got a fluoro light that I like to sort of use over on the body, but anyway, not there. And I assume your phone's got protection on it?
Not yet.
Oh, is it in this bag?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so we'll wake it up.
I do have, shouldn't I? I have,
Yeah, because EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, they build up in the gut, the brain, the testicles, and the spine. And then they can attract histamines, which build up in the gut, the brain, the uterus, and the spine. So, you know, these things are messing with everyone. It's just whether or not we notice it or not. Like some people, it's just feeling a bit tired, or, I mean, people can get really specific gut stuff. I remember one story with a Dr. Tanya someone, but she was telling about, you know, these people within families who have all these histamine created issues, like asthma actually. So things like asthma and sinus and hay fever. But then it can end up being, say, really nasty uterine pain for girls, or like all sorts of things can be in the same category because they can, these histamines can build up. So things like N-acetylcysteine, vitamin C, glutathione, redox minerals, like lots of things can help to get them out of the body if they've forgotten to actually release themselves. And sometimes there's just damage constantly, so they just switch off the mechanism to get the histamines out of the body tissues. I mean, technically you can buy supplements that have DAO, diamine oxidase, and they can help the body to release the histamine from the gut. Personally, I've never used them because it's sort of like replacing something that we want the body to do itself. So I'd rather get the body to cleanse itself so that it is creating the DAO, diamine oxidase, on its own. Okay, so once again, EMFs. It's doing something with your brain, so let me just go have a play with your brain for a minute. All right, so it's sort of shutting down the frontal cortex a little bit. And hold out. So once again, the frontal cortex, if that's not up and running, we're less likely to be making things like the serotonin and dopamine. So we already had the reticular activating system before shutting down your serotonin and creating vigilance because of the bugs don't want to die. And now we've got the EMFs in the brain messing with your ability to create the feel-good hormones and just stay alert and present and conscious, you know, in the here and now. It's just harder. We can do anything, but it just makes it harder for that conscious brain. And hold. Yeah, right. So the EMFs are also messing with your auditory integration points in your brain. And hold out. So part of that can be, like when it's bad, obviously, once again, a lot of the time things just, you know, most of the time things will just work beautifully. But when our auditory integration points aren't working well, it's like we're hearing things but we're not comprehending them. We have to ask people what they just said, or we hear a certain tone and we miss the context. So, you know, a really good example is on days when we're just not getting jokes. People will say something and it's just not funny. We're not getting the tone, we're not getting the inflection, we're not getting the intent, you know, so we're just in another part of the brain where everything's stressful. So anyway, your little auditory integration points are being messed with the EMFs. And don't forget, EMFs are everywhere. It's really good to have some protection in your home, you know, whether it's some sort of plug-in devices, heaps and heaps of stuff you can do these days. There's all sorts of crystals you can buy. Shungote's really amazing. Lots of crystals attract EMFs, but protection. I know a doctor from New Zealand, and he's really paranoid about it. So he bought his teenage son heaps of, because he knows about the connection to testicles. So he actually bought heaps of posters for his son, and then they put layers of alpha oil on the back of the posters, and then put the posters up on the wall. So the alpha oil being a prevention for getting into the kid's bedroom. So he said, I've got posters everywhere. Whatever works, I reckon. Good. Nothing else in the brain. Okay, so we can keep going. Okay. Yeah, right. So digestive enzyme therapy is showing up. So I'm just going to ask your stomach, your small intestine, your pancreas, and your liver and gallbladder. I'm going to find out which ones are really deficient in digestive enzymes. So I'm very specifically asking around digestive enzyme deficiencies that are creating health issues. And hold up for me. Hold up for me. So that one's stomach energy. It's funny, in Australia there's a company called Blackmores who have just been taken over by a Japanese pharmaceutical company, but whatever. They've been around forever, and one of their really good products is a product called Sodacal. And I don't know whether it's available online, but Sodacal is really simple. It's sodium phosphate, iron phosphate, and calcium phosphate. And what the combination of them does is to help to stimulate the parietal cells in our stomach to make more hydrochloric acid. Because one of the biggest reasons we don't make hydrochloric acid is that we have too many carbohydrates and sugars and things. They don't need hydrochloric acid. Or we drink too much liquid with meals, because then that dilutes the hydrochloric acid. So a lot of the way that we eat is just not amenable to creating hydrochloric acid in the gut. So if we're having, say, meat and 3 veg, it's a really good idea. And I know you've been doing, fruit and veggies and vegan stuff too. But if we are eating, say, meat and 3 veg, we should be eating some of the meat first. Really chewing it to stimulating the hydrochloric acid in the gut first. So that when we're eating everything else, we've already stimulated. If we have, say, a steak sandwich and the body recognizes the bread but not the steak, it's not going to release enough hydrochloric acid to break down the steak. So the way we eat, we need to be getting that protein in first to stimulate the best digestion for the whole digestive tract.
So no salads first.
No, not salads first. Well, salad goes through pretty quickly. So if you eat the salad and then wait 20 minutes and then have your protein like they do in a lot of European countries, that's not so bad.
Okay.
But no, no. Yeah, the answer is no. So, optimal digestive enzymes. And hold, that's better. So I'm going to go small intestines. Hold up for me. Hold up for me. Gallbladder energy. Hold. So gallbladder energy. Okay. Tender in there?
A little bit, yeah. Felt good when you were activating the thymus gland.
Yeah, right. Nice. Yeah, that's something you can do every day if you've got a sunny day, John. Sort of tap your thymus gland looking at the sunshine in the morning, because the sunshine helps to activate your immune system as well. And by tapping it in the morning, we get a really good bang for our buck with our immune system activity. And by standing in the sunshine, we're stimulating our pineal gland, even though it's deep inside. It's sunshine that activates it. So people who are waking up in the dark and going to work and they're in fluorescent lights all day and they never quite see sunshine, which sometimes that's me. Like, sometimes that's me. I can see the sunshine, but I don't get out in it. Okay, so in relation to optimal digestive enzymes, gallbladder, hold. Liver, hold, I'm going back, beautiful. Hold up, I'm going down. Yep, good, alright. And hold up, I'm going down, beautiful. Pancreas, hold into the hip, good. So, anything else with digestive, right, so digestive enzymes, right? I mean, this is just one of those general rules, but if everyone over 50 could take digestive enzymes, it would probably sort out a lot of stuff in our bodies. Most of them are very similar if they've got things like pepsin and betaine hydrochloride, amylase, papain. Ones with bromelains are awesome because they're also helping with current stuff, breaking down viruses and synthetic viruses and things like that. So, you know, because we have half the digestive enzymes by the time we're 50 as we did when we're 25, and by the time we're 70 we're maybe making about 10% of digestive enzymes. So we end up with more and more and more circulation immune complexes floating around in the bloodstream that our body just isn't coping with. And the poor old gut, instead of dealing with the food, it's always dealing with infections, it's dealing with toxins, it's dealing with something that it hasn't broken down. Now, I know you're eating a lot of organic food, but glyphosate's showing up. So glyphosate. And hold. So unfortunately, glyphosate's in the air we're breathing these days. So even if we're eating organic food, it's in the air, so therefore it's raining on it. It is in the water supply feeding the plants, because it's so ubiquitous now. It's in a lot of medications, bizarrely enough. It is a really strong pesticide that's been around forever. And the company that makes it, Monsanto, they're so powerful and so worldwide with so much funding. They win lawsuits all over the place when countries and states are trying to get rid of glyphosate from countries. They often win against countries because they've just got so much money and funding. But in 2006, they changed the laws so that not only do the plants get glyphosate, sprayed on them all the time, but in 2006 they changed the law so that they could also spray the food once it's harvested with glyphosate to stop anything else from growing on the food before it creates the food. And they know that glyphosate destroys the villi in the intestines. They know that glyphosate actually it causes non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is what that's been proven. So Dan had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yeah. I meant to ask him whether he knows that. He probably does, since he's been down lots of rabbit holes these days. I know we need to stimulate some other organ in your body in relation to glyphosate. Okay, so stomach energy, asking the body to release and eliminate any and all glyphosate. And hold. And hold. Yeah, one of the ladies who did some really deep research into glyphosate in the 80s, before the, implosion of gluten intolerance and stuff that we've got these days, was she's a PhD, Stephanie Seneff. So she's really worth checking out. She works at MIT, which may or may not be in Boston. That might be a lie. But she's, Stephanie Seneff. She did an awesome interview with Dr. McCullough about 2 years ago on different stuff. But she happened to mention in that interview how they knew that glyphosate seemed to be triggering a lot of autoimmune disease. And women's guts don't repair as quickly as men's guts. So even as little kids, when little kids have antibiotics, boys respond and recover heaps faster than their microbiome, in their gut. Boys respond something like 8 times faster, bounce back faster than girls, which is interesting since women have got 8 times more autoimmune issues as men. Anywhere else that we need to work on with glyphosate? Somewhere else? And all the work you're doing detoxing your gut might have just got to this spot where, you know, these things are starting to show up. Because if the glyphosate is hidden deep inside your body in biofilm and stuff, it won't show up because your body won't even recognize it. So the liver is currently dealing with glyphosate, which is a good thing. Your stomach is currently dealing with glyphosate. Well, we're getting it to deal with it, which is a good thing, because we want your body to recognize glyphosate and get it out. Hold. 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 Any other organs we need to work in relation to glyphosate? I don't know why this is showing up, but this is something called Guillain-Barré. Like, your symptoms to me don't sound like this, but I'm just going to mention it anyway. It's showing up that there's something that may or may not cause Guillain-Barré syndrome down the road. So I just want to make sure that that doesn't eventuate, because that causes big nasty neurological stuff. We don't want that. There's an energy mismatch to it. At the moment the immune system's doing okay, but we need to get the, you know, so an energy mismatch is when the body just doesn't recognize something. So we need at the very least for your body to recognize whatever that is that could create the potentiality of Guillain-Barré syndrome. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I have a feeling lots of vaccine stuff. Like, it's a really common toxic combination that causes that particular syndrome. Yeah, right. So the family of viruses, which are HHV, the human herpes virus, which has got Epstein-Barr virus and shingles and chickenpox and cytomegalovirus. So that's the family of viruses that is HHV. Hold. 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 Just getting your body to recognize that family. I'm going to stack in your heart for a minute and just make sure there's nothing infectious messing with your heart. Because sometimes when we're detoxing again, infections, you know, the last thing we want is little infectious bugs getting into the myocardium of the heart. So we just need to make sure that your heart is strong and healthy and has a really good microbiome around it. So I'm checking in relation to the microbiome of the heart. And hold, 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 hold. Hold, 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 hold. Beautiful. Yeah, we know a guy who does 21-day fasts. Does he do it every year? 21-day water fast?
This
Dan,
oh,
you haven't heard him talk about it?
yeah, I have.
And he sort of does anywhere from 60 mils to half a bottle of the redox minerals, the redox molecules every day, as well as crap loads of water. Personally, I'd probably add in, some apple cider vinegar or lemon juice or something. But, he's looking pretty jolly healthy.
Yeah.
Parasites and parasitic particles are showing up. Always keep in mind that parasites grow much, much more. The eggs thrive around full moon. So parasites and parasitic particles. So there's all sorts of parasitic combination, anti-parasitic combinations you can get. They often have herbs in them like wormwood or black walnut or clove oil, or there's a whole bunch of things that help to stop the environment that allows parasites to thrive. But you just got to remember it's not an overnight thing. So what can be a good idea, because basically even then the eggs can go and hide and wait for the full moon to go away, so they can hide if we're trying to kill them. Bugs don't want to die. They're very clever. So if you've got a good anti-parasitic formula, it's good to start 1 day before the full moon and do for 5 days after the full moon. So just do like 6-7 days every month until your layers of parasites start lowering. If you've had your appendix removed, the appendix actually releases anti-parasitic hormones or enzymes. So basically we need to be doing that every month, in some capacity if we've had our appendixes removed, because it changes the whole microbiome of the large intestine then and makes it into more of a pro-inflammatory situation. So parasites and parasitic particles. And parasites are definitely something, when we do blow them up with herbs and they are no longer a complete organism, they've been broken down into those parts, it can create lots and lots of inflammation. Which is why a lot of anti-inflammatory things have things like turmeric, activated turmerics, curcuminoids in them to help to sop up some of that inflammation as they are dying. Okay, then we need to activate your T helper 1, 2, 3 and 17 to just be all aware of each other, because we're supposed to have an even balance in a perfect world, an even balance of T helper 1 cells and T helper 2 cells. So when we've got excess T helper 2 cells, we're more pro-inflammatory with stuff like sinus, hay fever, asthma, ADHD, all sorts of things like that are histamine related. And funnily enough, for anxiety and depression can be linked in up here. When we've got excess T helper 1 cells, then that can be too much autoimmune disease. So when the immune system is attacking specific organs in the body. But a lack of T helper 1 cells allows things like parasites, bacteria, fungus, viruses, cancer to grow, because we need T helper 1 cells in order to keep those things at bay. So you would have heard that we've all got we all create thousands of cancer cells every day, but our immune system goes along and just sops them up. By the way, your body didn't say anything about cancer in here, so I often ask whether, in fact, I'll just check it, it's not showing up. Cancer and cancer cells. And hold. So it's one of the things I just bypassed because it just didn't even test up. So if that shows up, then it just means the immune system doesn't have a program. It doesn't mean there aren't any in there, because we all create them all the time. But it just means the body doesn't have enough of an immune system to cope with it. So T helper 1, 2, and 3, and 17 balance. So firstly, in relation to balance between T helper 1 and 2s, and hold, 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 hold. Oodles of vitamin D really helps the gut lining, because there's this thing in the gut lining. We're supposed to have a slightly leaky gut, only slightly, a slightly leaky gut all the time, because constantly during the day your stomach is opening and closing, and this little toe is poking out into the bloodstream. So, and then it's saying, oh, we've got some viral stuff, or we've got some bacterial stuff, or we've got some parasitic stuff, and then it's changing what the white blood cells are doing accordingly. So when our vitamin D levels are low, the elastic that helps to reconfigure our gut all day, every day, most of that stuff in there, that's vitamin D. And vitamin A is really crucial as well. So these essential fatty acid vitamins are crucial for the gut lining and for lung activity, for mucous membrane activity. But polyunsaturated oils are just very dangerous and toxic. It's amazing how often you see those things in foods when you're trying to avoid things like rapeseed oil and sunflower oil and corn oil, and yes. Cold pressed olive oil is awesome. Coconut oil is good for a lot of people, but not everyone. Well, everything's not good for everyone. Okay, so T helper 1 and 2 balance. Start getting the body okay, and connecting T helper 3s, T helper 17, balancing those little guys in the gut lining. So they're the balancers, and they're fast asleep. None of your kids had eczema, Reenee-Jee?
Yeah, passive.
Yeah, you've got the combo. Yeah, right. T helper 3, T helper 17 balance. Cool bananas. Okay, so now let's just make sure that the survival stuff is all still up and running and that it hasn't fallen apart with those last ones. And hold, adrenals are good, survival, deep survival, hidden deep survival. Okay, so that one is your celestial circuit. And hold. Okay. Yeah, so it's the left side that's exhausted. Yeah, right. So whatever it is that's creating it's taken a long time to get here. It's sort of saying that this pattern for you actually started when you're in your teenage years, more like about 18 years old. So it's you know, so it's an old pattern. But yeah, and so that sort of explains why the nervous system's like, meh, why would I bother? Huh. So it's taken it from third stage stress down to second stage stress. So do we need more of the same, more of something else, more of something else? Okay, so we need a bit of an emotional balance with the tuning fork combination. So I might stop and restart, just so that if you want to, you can just listen to that.